Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rep
Morning.
Elfreth and Rep Johnny. Oh, how are you guys this morning? I saw you guys were at a press conference with Westmore this morning, so busy day, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were with the governor and the rest of the Maryland team, really letting residents of our state know that we're here for them in this unnecessary Republican shutdown, that we're ready to provide the resources that are necessary. So appreciate the governor and our leaders here, our treasurer, our comptroller, Speaker of the House, Senate President. Team Maryland's all on one page about meeting the need in this moment as we fight for the American people.
Yeah, we have a lot of federal workers in Maryland. In my district, we have 44,000. Johnny has tens of thousands, and so disproportionately and acutely impacted by this. And our job is just to be there for our constituents on their hardest days. And I think both of our offices are working. I'm in my DC office right now. My staff is here answering every phone call, responding to every email with all the programs that are available in Maryland for folks who may be impacted, but also just want to make sure we are connecting people with the resources that they need each and every day, but especially today.
Yeah, I read in the Baltimore Banner, Johnny, that you said that there was a lot of people calling your office and trying to connect. So I'm sure Rep Elfreth, same thing. So what are the people calling about? Like, what are they asking about? Just resources, worried about jobs? What are some of the things that they're asking about?
Yeah, great question. We are reminding the American public that these employees are not political pawns. They're real people with mortgages to pay, kids to feed, responsibilities. And a lot of our employees are living paycheck to paycheck. And now they're being asked to show up to work and not be paid, or not show up to work and not be paid. But in either case, people are concerned about how they're going to make ends meet. And they should not be political pawns. They are being treated as such by this president, by this Republican majority who control the House, the Senate, and the White House. That's why Sarah and I have both put in separate pieces of legislation to try to protect our federal workers in this moment. Mine would prevent the president from firing federal employees during a shutdown. Sarah, I'll let her talk about the UI supports that it would provide for people who are impacted. But, it's really, people are deeply concerned. The president has shown his disdain. Maryland is already leading the country. 15,000 employees have been fired by this president outside of a shutdown. So we have had more employees fired in Maryland than anywhere else in the country. We feel it most acutely. But it's a reminder that while 30% of the federal workforce is in the greater Washington area, the district, Virginia, Maryland, the other 70% is spread out across the country. And so everyone is feeling this in every state, every city, every small town across our country right now.
Well, like Johnny's office, we're getting a lot of calls from concerned federal employees, but I'll also share a lot of folks asking me to hold strong, asking me to keep fighting for them, but also fight for healthcare for all Americans. And so whether it's on the phone in our office, and I'm going to spend time each and every day of the shutdown returning calls of constituents who have reached out to me, and just to make sure I am as close to this as possible. But I also want to make sure we're thanking them, because they're not getting any thanks from this administration. They haven't for the last 9 months. And as Johnny said, the DOGE cuts disproportionately impacted Maryland and Virginia. But what I think is lost to this administration is the value of those civil servants for the rest of the country. They are our neighbors, but they are the ones answering the phone at Social Security and filing paperwork. They're the ones at USDA doing food inspections. They're the ones at, name your federal installation that benefits taxpayers, across this country. People are paying for services, and those services are being servants. So from DOGE to today, and the president and OMB director votes just ridiculous, foolish, hostile threats about firing federal workers as, I guess, payback for Johnny and I voting against the continuing resolution that, again, does not meet the need of healthcare for Americans in this moment, is absolutely ridiculous. So I say thank you more these days than I've ever said to those federal employees. And as Johnny said, he has a great piece of legislation. We have a bill that Johnny's on as well, and Senator Olszewski in Maryland. Every shutdown, we kind of learn something new. It's Johnny and I's first shutdown in this environment. But if you're a furloughed employee, you are eligible for unemployment insurance. And that's insurance that you've paid into your whole life. But if you're deemed an essential employee, you're unable to get that unemployment insurance. And so our bill just fixes that. Obviously, Republicans are, home right now. They're not in Washington, so we can't move that bill in time for this shutdown. But I think it's a really important conversation because Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, including our federal employees, and they need that safety net.
And I think to your point, the thing about the unemployment insurance is that I don't think people realize that people will not get paid at all. So how are you supposed to pay your bills if you don't get paid? So I commend you and Senator Alston for putting that bill together. Hopefully it will get some bipartisan support because these folks, regardless of where you are in the country, you're going to have to pay your bills, and the bills don't stop just because the government shuts down. And I think that's a really important point. And I think, Johnny, I know you put a bill together as well. So let's talk about your bill, because I thought that was an important bill too, which is the SAFE Act.
Yeah, my SAFE Act is less than a page. It just says the president cannot fire federal employees during a government shutdown. And it's crazy that such a piece of legislation has to even be introduced. I want to thank Representative Elfreth and Senator Alsewski for putting forward their legislation. I'm proud to support it for those employees who need to have access to payment and to money while they're working to serve our country. But, I never thought that I have to put in a bill that says the president can't fire during a shutdown. It's so far out of the norm that this is even being threatened. But on both bills, there should be bipartisan support, right? Our employees are Democrats, Republicans, independents. They're not registered to vote at all. These are Americans who just love their country and are trying to help their fellow American. And so notwithstanding disagreements on the government shutdown, these are bills that all Republicans, all Democrats should come together, pass so that we're protecting our federal employees. It's really sad to me that we can't get Republican co-sponsors or support from our colleagues across the aisle on either of these pieces of legislation to date. I was a Baltimore County executive prior to coming to Congress, and our employees, I had tens of thousands of employees as executive. They were our most valuable resource. They were not political pawns. They were not to be taken hostage for political negotiations. We really valued them. And I'm seeing the exact opposite out of this administration. And it's really hard to see as someone who worked closely with employees in a prior government life.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm just curious to like, you have, is Social Security Administration in your district?
It's right there on the line. And so as Sarah said, this is really going to impact not just the employees in our communities. This is going to impact Americans who rely on these services, whether it's veteran services or Social Security, you name it, Postal Service, TSA agents. It is really a big thing. So CMS is technically in my district. We are very concerned about what's happening there. It makes it very personal for us, but it's really across the country we're seeing this. And to Sarah's point about fighting for healthcare, I want to point out the irony. Democrats are the ones who are, by elevating this issue, not only fighting for the 20 million Americans who would be impacted, Democrats are the ones who are trying to stop a massive tax increase on American families. This is now day 271 that we've been in Congress. And Republicans have done nothing to lower costs for hardworking Americans. The president said he was going to lower costs on day one. And so this is the right fight. I think it's important to raise this issue. And the other issue that we don't talk as much about, but I want to just raise briefly, is the fact that Republicans have proven they are willing to undo a bipartisan budget deal through cuts, through what's called the rescission process. But really, that's just a fancy word for cuts. The president has cut public broadcasting. He's cut foreign aid. He's cut Medicaid. They're willing to go through in a partisan way and cut funding that was agreed to in a bipartisan fashion. So for me, that is an easy, bright line to say any agreement has to have ironclad protections against those kinds of additional cuts. For those of us in the Baltimore area, myself, Sarah, others, we saw President Trump threaten to cut funding for the Francis Scott Key Bridge. He could do that through a rescission, even if we had a bipartisan agreement. So we need to have additional protection so that whatever we agree to is actually not undone. I think that's an important part of the conversation as well.
Right. Tiffany, so like Johnny, I spent time in the classroom. He was a high school teacher. I taught Political Science 101. And so the great part about doing that is I had to reread the Constitution and then teach it to young people every year. And the framers very intentionally put power of the purse with Congress, as you know. And this whole debate over rescissions, we might as well not even be here. If we're just going to give the president unilateral control over the purse, what is the point of having, separate but equal branches of government? That our founders would turn over in their grave on the idea of us just getting completely railroaded. As Johnny said, after a bipartisan budget deal was already struck. So that's a value worth fighting for in addition to healthcare. I do want to talk about, I know we talk in these numbers, 20 million Americans will be impacted if Congress doesn't act on these ACA tax credit extensions. So important. In Maryland, that's 190,000 Marylanders. And the number that they're going to see an increase on average in their premiums is 13% on January 1st. That is in some cases $800, $900, depending on which community you live in. That's just not something people can absorb in this moment. Like, you're not getting an $800, $900 necessarily dollar pay increase on January 1st. And the reason why this fight is the right one in this moment, and I'm not accepting the Republicans trying to play this like, oh, we'll address it in 7 weeks. Like, we cannot kick this football any further. Those letters on your premiums will be going out today, October 1st, because these insurance companies cannot wait until December 31st when the tax credits expire to send those letters out and let you know about this premium increase. And so this is the right fight at this moment. And we have to stay focused on healthcare, because this president has, he's got a bad track record on a whole lot of policy issues. Let's be clear.
Where to begin, right?
Healthcare, largest Medicaid cut in U.S. history in July that we fought tooth and nail to slow down, to stop, right? Millions and millions of Americans, rural hospitals are going to face tremendous pressure if not closed. We're going to see longer wait times at emergency departments. Let's talk about seniors in nursing care are going to be impacted by this. Our neighbors with disabilities who live in group homes and have really phenomenal services that get them into the workforce and have mentors, that's all on the table because of this president. And cherry on top, this, I hope I can curse here, this bullshit last week of the president announcing 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals from out of the country. People already can't afford their medication already. And that's a threat. It's not even a threat. It's happening. And so all of these things are snowballing, and our healthcare system is so fragile. I encourage folks to talk to anybody in the healthcare profession right now, nurses or doctors or people who work at hospitals. They'll tell you we are on the precipice of this healthcare system breaking if Congress doesn't take this seriously and act now. And that's why we're in this fight today.
Yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate that, because again, I love civics like you guys. I am a civics buff. I'm a social studies major. This is my jam. But to your point, people don't understand the how the government works per se. So what we're seeing is that they are just taking control of the purse, and that is not okay. They are doing whatever they want, and that is scary. I think that is scary to a person like me, and it should be scary to the rest of Americans. But also, let's talk about the subsidies, because like you said, these subsidies are what you guys are truly fighting for, amongst other things in this bill, like you stated. I know I saw your press release that 23,000 people in your district alone have these subsidies, and these subsidies can range, like you said, it could be $200, or it could be, like you said, up to $900 that they may be paying more per month. And again, the affordability conversation per month. Yes, per month, not per year, per month. They're getting where are they supposed to find this money? We talk about affordability all the time as part of, kind of what the Democrats' platform should be, right? We want to increase affordability. This is not doing that. This is the opposite of what we want to do. So speak to how those subsidies will impact, people in your district, and also we're losing jobs. The job market is not great. So where are people supposed to find this money?
Yeah.
I'll let Johnny take a stab at that.
They're not. That's the problem, right? Not only have we gone 271 days without action on lowering costs, to your point, Tiffany, we have increased costs in countless ways, whether it's the tariffs, whether it's the mass firings, whether it's increased electricity costs. Over and over and over again, this administration is making it more expensive for hardworking Americans. Sarah has already laid out the number of Marylanders who would be impacted. I'm going to make it specific to a sample family of 4. making $90,000 a year could see upwards of a $3,000 a year increase in their healthcare premiums. That's if they're able to afford that, right? So you're either going to see that much money taken directly out of your paycheck, out of your pocket, or you're going to lose healthcare, which could be devastating in a whole other series of ways. This is for 20 million Americans who are going to be facing this, and that's your average family in Maryland, in America, thousands of dollars per year coming out of your pocket because of President Trump and Republicans and their unwillingness to address this crisis. And it is a crisis. So it is. I think it's the right issue for Democrats to raise. Sarah did a great job of outlining why we have to address it right now. It cannot wait. We are at the table. We're ready to strike a deal. I'm encouraged that there were a couple of senators on the Republican side who have at least acknowledged that this is an issue. But now we need them to vote with the Democrats to pass a bill that will keep the government funded and address this looming crisis. Again, Democrats are standing up, screaming at the top of our lungs to help prevent this tax increase on Americans. We're looking for our Republican colleagues to join us and keep the government open.
I mean, Tiffany, I think we can all agree a large part of what turned people out to vote or even not vote last year in 2024 was this affordability crisis. And we're talking about healthcare, but let's talk about like housing, grocery costs, energy costs, childcare. It is like just the average life in America is becoming so far out of reach for most Americans because of, yes, inflation, but like the cost of everything is going up. And as Johnny said, you know, we're brand new to Congress, 271 days, longest decade of my life. But I came here and Johnny came here to get shit done. We came here to actually move the needle and make the lives of our constituents better. And yet we are playing just defense. Like we're not even playing offense on how are we making lives better. We're just playing with this Republican administration and Republican Congress. We're just trying to stop the bleeding. And that's unsustainable for so many families across this country. And the reason, and like, when we talk about ACA, it is far more popular today than it was when it first was kind of socialized with the American people back in the day. But I think everybody now understands that the more people who have health insurance, the better the system is for everybody. So whether you benefit from these ACA tax credits or not, you benefit from these ACA tax credits because when more people are insured, they tend to go to the doctors more. They have a doctor. They don't go to the emergency room, whenever they get sick. It helps spread out the risk for all of us more when healthier people are also enrolled in health insurance. And so if that health insurance that was made affordable by these tax credits is suddenly unaffordable and out of reach for too many Americans, that's going to impact everybody in this system. And I think we all understand that post ACA passage, but it's just a really important reminder that we are fighting for these, in this case, 190,000 Marylanders who benefit from this tax credit, but that tax credit has other effects and other impacts and other benefits for folks like Johnny and I who have employer-based health insurance. So it's a really important just note on how this system works too.
Which is, if you have private insurance, you're going to be impacted too. Your rates are going to go up, probably significantly.
Not to mention, like you said, emergency room, right? When people are uninsured, that's the first place they go. And if people are not able to afford their insurance, they're just going to forego it altogether. And when they get sick, they're going to run to the emergency room and you're going to have wait times. I mean, the wait times are not great now. Last summer I went with my daughter to the emergency room. It was 4 hours. So you're talking double time with more people at the ER. And I think that is a big concern for me as just a Marylander, as an American, that we are putting people's lives at risk because the more time you wait in the ER, and you are having a catastrophic situation, their potential for you to die is much greater. Yeah. So that worries me a lot. And I think also, I just one last question on the ACA subsidies. So I know there is some talks of there was a bipartisan bill that was put out there early in September. Has there been any talk of maybe bringing that back? Or I know they're not at work, but I know there's still conversations that happen. So I'm trying to be the optimist here that maybe there is a solution to this if we could get Republicans to agree.
I hope so. I've been saying on repeat the last 3 days that I have to be an optimist to have this job. I know Johnny is too. Like, we couldn't wake up every morning and keep fighting if we didn't think we could make a difference here. And we hear constantly from our constituents to like fight harder, do more, all these things. This is the leverage we have at this moment to force this conversation. And we talked about the urgency of this moment. Like, this is what we're talking about. So if there are Republicans who also appreciate that this impacts their constituents too, who want to work with us, I want to work with them. And there have been a couple of Republicans on campus these last few days. I'm just going to start grabbing them anytime I see them and like force this conversation and, you know, double dog dare them to come to the table. But this is the leverage we have, and we have to keep pushing this conversation, and we have to deliver for the American people.
Yeah, no, I saw AOC last night. She said, come to my office. And you think I'm the problem, come to my office. I was like, go ahead, girl. Like, I mean, the conversation feels like they're missing the whole point of this. Republicans, they're going on TV blaming, you know, the illegal aliens. This is the Medicaid. We know this is not true. Like, there's so many lies that's put out there. And then you have like the disgustingness of like these AI videos, like all of this stuff is just starts to penetrate with people. But I think for you guys, to the fight point of it, like people want you guys to hold strong. They want you to be strong in this fight and not like fight for the people. I think that's what's missing in this time and frame where we are, is that people want their representatives to fight for them. And you guys have always done a really good job. I know you've only been there since January, but even before that, you've always fought for your constituents. And I know my rep does too. My rep is Steny Hoyer. He's always fought for us.
You've got
the dean of our delegation.
The dean. Yes, the dean.
And
yeah, no. So
lead the charge.
Exactly, and I appreciate that, right? I mean, I was happy to see all of you together today, you know, with the governor and being able to talk through this. And I know there are programs that are now being put forth. I saw that there's like a $700 loan that federal workers would be able to apply for. They would, you know, there are programs out there, but I just feel like some of those programs, people don't really know about them. So how can they find out about them?
Well, we have a whole package on our website. If folks want to call us or visit our website, we have a whole toolkit on how individuals can be helped access all the programs that are out there, local, state, and federal. I know Sarah's office does something very similar. And I would just say, as we engage in what I think is the right fight here, I would just leave before we sort of turn things over to the next group. My parting thoughts, and I'll let Sarah add hers, is that in all things, it is better to hope than despair. And so every day I wake up and have that hopefulness and that optimism that we will find that breakthrough. We will find that Republican who sees the light. We will have the American people speak up enough that we get to where we need to be, that we win the fight that we know is right here. And so that would be my bit of encouragement before we wrap. And I turn things over to my colleague to help wrap this up with you.
First of all, Tiffany, thank you for helping lead this conversation. And like Johnny, you can go on our website, elfreth.house.gov, and we have a whole, not just resource guide, but like FAQ if you have a specific question. And you can always call our offices. Ours are open, answering phones, responding to emails. I'm going to do a live stream tonight with just some basic Q&A on the questions that we've been getting today, so people have that information. And like Johnny, you know, I am hopeful about the participation that we're seeing from our constituents. Right? Like we nerded out about political science today, but that's what our founders wanted for this system to work. Like Johnny and I cannot do our jobs if we don't hear from our constituents. And if our constituents and other constituents around this country aren't engaging with their elected officials in this moment, like, so please just continue to lean in, continue to participate, and continue to like share your voice.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking time to speak to me, and we have your back. So keep fighting the good fight for us. We appreciate all that you do, and we hope that no one wants this shutdown, but it is, like you said, a necessary fight. So we're hoping that this doesn't last too long, and that, you know, hopefully clear minds and hearts, because this does impact people personally, will prevail, and we will get through this shutdown fairly quickly. So thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.